Alright, let's go ahead and now build the rear shocks. The rear shocks are built the same way, except for you're going to use the 1.46 hole. That's the only difference. So go ahead and prepare your shafts, get everything put together, and we're going to use the 6 hole on that. Don't forget your rubber stoppers. And your little plastic so you don't mar up your shock shaft. Put the ends on. And now we get to the fun, messy part of filling shocks. And I'm reading the directions for filling these, and they're a little bit different than what they have been in the past. So we're all going to be learning something. So that's what we should be at now. You should have 2 rear shocks. And the rear shocks use the 6 hole, and you should have 2 front shocks which use the 4 hole. Filling shocks. Whee! Here comes fun time. First you have choices. You can use the fake piggyback shocks. And those are the caps that have the little area for the fake cap to go onto. And then there's a screw. You can see that you're going to use a 3x8mm button head and put the screw in through here and tighten those on. And then you'll have your fake reservoirs. I am not really a big fan of fake reservoir shocks, so I'm going to use the also included regular shop caps. So your choice. It's up to you. That's just personal preference. The shocks, piggybacks do look cool. I have to say that. Go ahead and get your little silicone gaskets out. And again, we're just going to use a small amount of shock fluid, and we're going to moisten them up a little bit. It's always good to do that. And these are going to lay down inside the cap. Like that. So you can go ahead and do that. The front and the rear shocks are going to fill the same. The front shocks get the 10 weight oil, and the rear shocks get the 30 weight oil. And again, I hope that you mark them, but that's completely up to you. Once we get the caps on, it's not going to be possible to tell which is the front and which is the rear without pulling the shafts in and out and guessing that you have the right ones. So again, I'm going to suggest that you mark them somehow. Okay. Let's start with a front shock. And again, those are the ones with the 4 piston holes. Get your 10 weight oil. You need to be real careful here. These spouts like to pop off if you squeeze too hard, and you will end up with shock oil everywhere. What we're going to do is fill the shock up about 90% of the way to the top. Squeeze the bottle very, very gently. Okay, like I said, about 90% of the way up. Now we're going to bleed the air out. You can take a look down in here. Maybe it's going to, you can see it or not. I'm going to push up on the shaft very, very slowly till it's about 3/4 of the way up. Then I'm going to pull it down. And you can see the little air bubbles that were stuck under there. And you want to wait for all of those to raise to the top. Take a little peek in here. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to push it up about 3/4 of the way. Let it sit, and then quickly pull it back down. Did I just do that? I did. I pulled it down too fast. Okay. I hope everybody has a laugh. Maybe that'll go viral. I'm going to go clean up. Okay. Okay, let's give this another try. So we're working on the front that has 4 holes in the pistons. We're going to go ahead and fill this up with our 10 weight. See if we can't do it right this time. Okay, we're going to go ahead and fill that up. And we're going to bleed out the air bubbles slowly. Okay, we'll peek in there. We still got some air bubbles coming up. Push up on the shaft again. Let it sit. Pull down on the shaft. Now don't pull down too hard. Okay, with this thin oil, it happens very quick. With thick oil, it takes a little bit longer. Okay, so now, according to the directions, we are going to push the shaft all the way up. And then fill the shock body to the very top with fluid, just like so. And we are going to install a cap. So according to the directions here, there is no bleeding necessary. So now that the cap is on, we're going to make that finger tight. You don't want to over tighten them. And now we have the shock absorber. Yay! That is a front, again with the 4. Let's go ahead and do that again. Here's the front. It's got the 4 holes in the pistons. You like that? That one's sticky. You think I learned my lesson after the first time. Let's go ahead and fill this up. I really don't know, because these shocks aren't bled as per se as a lot of other shocks. I don't know how important it really is to get the air out of here, because there's air in there when we put the cap on. So let's go ahead and push the shaft all the way down, fill this up, and put the cap on. Now we have the other front shock done, nice and smooth. And we're going to go ahead and do the other 2, which are the rears. And you can see those are the ones that have more holes in the pistons. Let's go ahead and fill these ones up, just like we did the front ones, and we'll be right back. Okay, now that we have all of our shocks filled, let's go ahead and one more time separate the front shocks from the rear shocks. There we go. And we are going to start with the front shocks. Let's go ahead and put our ride height adjustments on the fronts to a gap of 10 millimeters, and that's from the cap to the top of the ride height adjustment. And we'll do that and make sure that that's the same on both of the front shocks. Let's also make sure that they're all smooth and operating properly. Beautiful thing. Okay, now we're going to install the springs. For the front, we're going to want to find the 2 white, or actually let's take a look here. We have yellow and green for the larger ones, and on the front we're going to want the 7/7s, which are the yellow. And we are also going to want the 26s, which are the white. So we're going to look on the spring and we're going to see that there is yellow. So let's grab our yellow springs, and then you'll see that there is white. So let's grab our white springs. You're also going to need your spring separators and a spring perch. Okay, so those are for the front. Again, we're going to double check for the front. We need white and 7/7s, which are the yellow. So we have yellow and white. Let's go ahead and slide a white spring on. Put the separator in. Slide a yellow spring in. And then we are going to put a spring perch on there. Go ahead and slide the spring down and hold it out of the way, and we will put a spring perch on. As you can see, there's a slit in there, it slides over the shaft, and it presses down onto the shock holder. Let go, and that is how our springs work. We'll repeat the other one here. Make sure you're using the right color, put a separator on, put the spring in, and seat the perch. Now for the rear shocks, we're going to want to use a green spring. So if you take a look, this is a 79, and the 79 is a green spring. And it's also showing here for the rear, we're going to want to use a red. So we'll do a red, a separator, a green. Let's move the bump stop out of the way. Set that down. And one more time. That is how we finish our springs. Okay. We now have 4 completed springs.